Good morning, everyone, and as always, a warm welcome here to South Africa. Welcome at Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. It is a stunning morning. The sun has just risen about 5 minutes ago. It's not cold, but it's certainly not warm. It's a nice cool morning as well, and I'm very excited to be out there and see what's happening. This is just literally a leaf, but where are we there? There we picked it up earlier, actually, against the sun. There was nice. This just reminded me, you know, when you read those cartoon books or the storybook about the worms that eat the leaf, it was just quite perfect how this one had been eaten like that. Anyway, I just thought I noticed it this morning as we were driving along. It happened to fall on the bonnet of the car, as we call it, or the hood, as you might call it, and thought we'll show you that. Otherwise, it is a new morning, excuse me, still a bit early. It is a new morning, so anything could have happened during the night, so we're going to follow up on those lions that HT were sitting with, HT and the guys were with yesterday, and see if we can find them. There's a lot of elephant tracks. Probably the last 300 yards has been just elephant tracks on the road, and not elephants playing, but elephants crossing the road. So a lot of ellies around last night. Thank you very much. One of our Zoomies, Siberia, said yesterday, or actually not yesterday, this morning very early, heard some elephant vocalization, elephant activity as well around Gari Waterhole. And also heard a mammal call. In fact, I heard the same call. We stay very close to the waterhole, and I was up early morning, and I heard a lion roaring somewhere towards Treehouse Dam, which is the area that HT is going to be looking around in. You will be joining him shortly as well, just for a good morning, maybe for a lion, who knows. And we're just going to see what happens. Brian's behind camera today, Tara and Nikki in control room, and I'm looking forward to the morning. Remember, you're welcome to ask questions as well. This is a live drive. It's not only a live drive, it's an interactive experience, the same as any safari, and you're welcome to leave comments or mention things or tell us if you see something at the waterhole, for those of you guys following the waterholes, or just ask a question as well. Excuse me. So you can do that by tweeting #SafariLive, or you can email it to questions@WildEarth. And while we're saying good morning, morning Herman, saying morning from Korea. You guys had a great experience yesterday in the class, and thank you for your thank you on that as well. Let's go look for lions and tigers and bears. Well, maybe not the last two, that's only in the poem. Oh yes, my name's Peter Pretorius. Thanks for joining us. Let's go look around. Still elephant tracks. There were a lot of ellies around last night. We're really having a concentration of, well, everything at the moment, not just elephant, but it's getting quite dry into the Kruger area. Now, just to give you some perspective as to where we are, we're driving almost due east at the moment, as you can see from the sunrise. Keeping in mind we are in late autumn now, going into summer, so our sun is slightly north of due east. But towards the east, that whole area, if we kept driving, we could drive for a very long time, well, actually a very long time after the roads end, towards the east, because the Greater Kruger National Park is sitting in that direction. We're talking about an area, I think, a little bit bigger or close to the same size as New Jersey. So very large ecological area of which we are part, but the area directly east of us doesn't have a lot of waterholes or riverbeds or permanent rivers. In fact, no permanent rivers in that immediate area. So what's happening, as it's getting quite dry now, and this year it's getting dry a little bit earlier. We had some late rains, which is good for the habitat, which is why it's still a bit green. But the waterholes and the pans and all those places would be dry. So a lot of animals come into this area, into the Sabi Sands, because there are many, many waterholes around. They would also become fewer and fewer as it gets drier, which means the concentration of game will become even higher. I know I've said this many times, but over the next 2 or 3 months, you guys are going to be spoiled for amazing game viewing. I promise you're going to see some things that you can't even imagine as we speak about it. So it's going to be great. And the same goes for this morning. Let's go see what we find today. Yep, just elephant tracks crossing the road everywhere. Brian, your favorite time? Sunrise or sunset? Early morning, late afternoon?
I would say early morning. Definitely early morning.
Yeah, I'm also a big early morning fan. I mean, the afternoons are also awesome, but there's just something about the new day that I like. The fact that we're going to see new things. Since we were watching the sunrise, let's just have a quick look at the reflection of the sunrise. Let's try and get you a little, how's that? That's the moon. And of course the moon is not making its own light, but at the moment you can really get the sense of, call it the three-dimensionality, if there is a word like that, of our direct system around us. The solar system being the sun that's busy rising there, and then our own little satellite, the first satellite that Earth had before they put some more up later, the moon, which is just purely reflecting back the sun's light to us. So that gives you a great idea of the east-west line if you want this morning. Something that the first time I heard about it I thought was interesting, and subsequently, well, actually the first time I properly understood it, I found it even more interesting. And that is the fact that the moon has always got, wait, we've got lion tracks. Why did I see them crossing the road there? That's interesting. Okay, we expected to find some tracks here, just because where they were yesterday, their first place of call would have been almost certainly Buffelshoek Dam. Guys, it's a little bit, let me just show you one. I might show you later once the sun is up. It's always lovely when you have not only lion tracks, but lion tracks on top of elephant tracks. Just to show you where are they walking this way, so towards us. And let's see, I think those are good ones. There's a nice clear one, any of them really. Not only is it cool that they walked on top of elephant tracks in the sense of two big animals that walked here in the last little while, but also the fact that there's an elephant track underneath. The elephant track would be that area there, that sort of flattish, you can see a little bit of like a disc shape almost. So the elephant tracks even the sand out nicely, so you get a perfect track on top, guys. Actually, let me just do this, give me a second. Sorry, I'm going to confuse myself here. Here's my spotlight. What am I doing? If I do that, it gives you a little bit more contrast. Sorry guys, this is a little practice run for me, if it takes a little while. No, it's not working so well. I'm trying to create a bit of contrast for you, but it's difficult with where I'm sitting now. But basically, once the sun is up, then tracking is much better. Your best tracking time of the day is early morning, late afternoon, but once the sun is up enough to hit the ground, because then you get nice contrast in the track. Just to run through that quickly for you, that's the pad, and that's the toes there. And speaking of surprises, there's always surprises in the bush. You're going to have a big one with HD just now. I'll see you back here in a bit.
Good morning, folks. I just want to get straight into this because I'll say good morning to you properly in a second. But I just saw this hippo come out of the water. Not the most usual thing you see at this time of the day. They're normally coming back to the water's edge. We're just going to see him walk through there, and he just came out of Twin Dams. And he's just walked into the bush. Now, he's not injured or anything. I think he's just found himself in a place that he's not used to. We'll just go and have a look around on the other side of the road there. It's not unusual to see it, but it's just that you don't often see it, particularly when we're on WildSafari Live. Good morning, folks. My name's Hayden. I've got Andrew with me on camera. Thank you very much for joining us here on WildSafari Live. I just think I'd like to see that. Just through there, Andrew. There's a little bit more. I do apologise for chopping and changing, folks. It's just unusual. We just came up to the edge of the dam there, and he was just coming out of the water. The dam is quite shallow at the moment, so maybe he didn't feel as confident or as comfortable in that dam. Now what he's going to do is try and make his way to another dam. I'm just not sure where he's going to go. He might be going over to Arathusa, and we'll just see, but he needs to get to another water point that he feels comfortable in. So during the night he's grazed so far away from his original water point that he now took refuge in Twin Dams, but I don't think the water was deep enough for him to feel comfortable or feel confident enough, so he's come out of the water. I don't want to go any closer than this because it's just going to make him feel a little bit less, or a little bit more vulnerable. So he's just in the vegetation there, and he might return to that dam just depending on how he feels. So it's unusual to see a hippo out of the water in full stride, and he looks fantastic, a really, really healthy animal. Hippos really only come out at night in the cooler hours to graze. A lot of people think that hippos graze on aquatic plants, but they actually graze on terrestrial plants or plants that you find out on outside the ponds, and that mouth has been beautifully designed for grazing. But there he is off walking through. They're a fantastic creature. So, welcome again. What a beautiful morning it is here in Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves in the Sabi Sands, the magnificent Sabi Sands, the world-famous Sabi Sands here in South Africa. If you've just joined us for the first or second time, welcome aboard. And if you're a regular participant, as I say every morning, welcome back. It's great to have you on board. We are going to have a little look around this area. Pete's gone over to the other side. You've already joined him this morning. It's 17 degrees centigrade or Celsius and 63 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not super hot. One of the reasons why he probably also feels quite comfortable out of the water. It's a little bit cooler still. As soon as that temperature starts to rise, he'll find refuge in a water point somewhere. But what a beautiful day. So a bit of a recap. I left you with the Nkahuma Pride last night. They walked into the bush. The male was left standing there. We went round the other side of that road to try and pick them up coming through. We heard some kudu alarm calls, so the kudu was actually aware that the line were coming through. I have no idea what happened over there last night, so hopefully the guys are going to pick them up and see what went on. There's loads of things to find out, so we might get on our merry way. And it was a great day yesterday, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. Thank you for all your Facebook messages and your tweets and everything. It's just great to be able to have that social interaction with you. Beautiful morning here, clear skies. What a day. Anything could happen. You always know, you never know what's around that next corner. If you've got any questions for us, please you can tweet us at #SafariLive, or you can email us at questions@wildearth.tv. Warming up a little bit. Always looking for tracks and signs out the side of the vehicle. So if ever you see us do that and get out a shot there and look out the window, it's because we're looking to see if their tracks are fresh. We can pass those on to Scotty and Stefan, and Brent is back this morning as well. He's just arrived back from leave, so he's going to be helping out hugely. He's a great guy on the ground. guys, while I'm just having a look around this and sort of scratch around this area, let's cross back to Pete and see what he's up to, and I'll see you just now.
Well, as I said, a big surprise. It's not uncommon. Hey, there's another surprise. It's not uncommon to see leopard. All right. Just stand by a little bit, Abel. I just need to. A bit of coffee maybe will get my words in a line. It's not uncommon to say leopard when you mean hippo, because you want to say that it's not uncommon to find hippo walking around on land early morning, but it is quite special. But then it's easy to confuse that with leopard if you're looking at a fresh leopard track while saying it. I hope that made some sense. Guys, let's do a little tracking thing here. Let's follow a story. So we're going to start with these smaller tracks first. Right, let me just get my. Give me a second. As I said, I need to get some coffee into my system. I think there we're doing better. So we're going to start with these small tracks. We'll follow them first. Small tracks here, going along there. This looks like a white-tailed mongoose at first. I thought it was a genet, but I see it's a white-tailed mongoose. Not a genet, a civet. Following it along, there's a little track. Now, what do you think that tiny line is? Just that little stripe in the sand. There it ends in two other tracks we're going to talk about. But that stripe, just for interest's sake, is one of the small five. And the small five are referred to as animals that have the name of the big five. So buffalo weaver, elephant shrew. This specific one is from an antlion, and then it ends in a leopard track. There you go. So just a quick update there for those of you that missed this. We've got some fresh leopard tracks here. From a female leopard, I would go as far as guessing maybe Karula. We have a line here from an antlion. And we have an exciting morning ahead of us. Now, of course, we must keep in mind these animals could have moved far during the night. I mean, leopard, lion, all these nocturnal animals are very active at night. But this is a very nice fresh track to the point of. Actually, let me finish back that point. Sorry, guys, I was a bit clumsy getting going there, but as I said, the cogs are still turning in a sort of a slow motion way. Just to give you an idea, let's just do that again for those of you that missed it. If we can find that same antlion track. In the meantime, there's also a question for you, those of you that like to participate a bit. Which animals make up the small five? This is one of them, as I said, the antlion track. So if you follow that line. Now, what's interesting here, if you were reading this now, this is your morning and you've got some information, you've got to figure out, can we find this leopard? There's the leopard track, two tracks going that direction, so the same way as my finger's pointing. But what do you notice happening here? So if you take the antlion, as well as the leopard track into account, I'll give you a little bit of background information. Antlions are active during the night as well. They move around during the night, and then they make these little pit traps in the sand for catching ants and other insects, but mainly ants. So this antlion would have been active sometime at night, or I would even say early morning. My question, I guess, to you is, who was your last, the antlion or the leopard? And suddenly, all of us are trackers, because now we can age this track. We can date it, if you want. Time date, not day date. This leopard walked here after the antlion. And you can see easily why we can say that. So it's just these little things, you know, it's not... There's a level at what stage tracking becomes almost magical, and I must admit I've experienced it with people that are really good trackers. Stefan, by the way, is an excellent tracker, and when you really do this a lot and you get into that space, and it's almost like a zone you get into, there's a lot of other things to tracking that is not that easy to explain, but the basic building blocks all of us can understand. It's logic. You must just think, what is there, what is this, what makes that, know a little bit about the behavior, know that antlions do that, and the leopard walked over it. So suddenly we go, okay, this leopard track, I would say, is early this morning rather than late last night. So that already gives us an idea of how it works. So a lot of the times, no matter where you're from, if you know lots or if you know nothing about the bush, and this goes for more than just being in the bush, anywhere in life really, if you just stay calm and you apply your logic and you let your brain do its thing without interfering too much, you can figure out a lot of things that you might have thought you didn't know anything about. Now the next logical thing, if I'm a leopard and I'm walking along, I have been walking on the road, she came out of the north, I found the track first coming from this side, so from our left or the northern side, onto the road and then walked on. So now, the next place here, there's a crossroads. So the logical thing is it would have gone in one direction, the leopard is walking on the road, so the question would be, do we think it's going to go straight north, because that's the way, straight east? Wait, let's do one more of these. Just kidding guys, but I'm just excited in the morning, so I tend to talk over myself a bit. Is the leopard going that way, or would it have turned? That's the options we've got. Not likely it would have turned back north, because that's where it just came from. So either that way, or this way. We look here, there's a track there, I can see one. Looks like it's still going north. Hey, nah, sorry. I can see, where are we now? There's a track there where the car track is turning. Thereabouts. There, I think, where my finger is. There. There's one. You see it? One, 2, 3, 4 toes, and the pad in the back here. So the leopard's heading that way. Now again, it's already past halfway of the turnoff, so my guess would be this leopard didn't take the turnoff, it continued north. But I don't see it north now, that's interesting. Yeah, there it is, back on the road. This leopard continued east. I don't know why I keep saying north. No, northwest, imagine that, confusing that must be. If your name is northwest and you're tracking a leopard going east. So point is, this leopard went east. Unfortunately, we can't go any further in that direction, so we're going to leave that track. When I see the game drives later, I'll tell them, because some of the other guys can drive that side as well. We've got these different areas that, depending on where you're from and who you're from and how it all works, that you can traverse. So the guys can follow that up later. So already we've got fresh lion tracks this morning at Buffelshoek Dam. They've headed north, unfortunately. We won't be able to follow them. And the leopards have gone, or the leopard has gone east. Can't follow her. Let's go look for something new. Looking forward to those answers from the small 5. Awesome. Chris, and if I got the other name right, Vance. Morning guys. Nice to have you on drive again. I know you guys join us often. And great answer. The small 5 is firstly elephant shrew that we just saw the track of, leopard tortoise, buffalo weaver, which is a sort of smallish, almost medium-sized bird, red-billed buffalo weaver, you get them here as well. Antlion, elephant shrew, buffalo weaver, leopard tortoise, and rhino beetle, which is one of the scarab beetles, or the dung beetles, a rhino beetle. I think I should keep my sentences short for the next half an hour or so. I seem to be excited about the morning, but my brain and my speech seem to still be on early morning drive. Okay guys, this is Cheetah Cut Line, one of my favorite roads in Djuma. Beautiful road, we're up high as well. It's a bit sort of hazy this morning, so we can't see the escarpment, but normally from here you can see the Drakensberg escarpment. And a road that's used by animals very often, so on many occasions I bumped into a leopard or some lions or something crossing through the area, using this road as their sort of main highway. So let's see what happens. Let's enjoy the morning. Once again, early mornings, more so than the afternoons, you've got this sort of blank canvas. And what I mean with that, just checking here for tracks. If you look here to our right hand side, there's another road that turns off. So there's a road, it's a crossroads. This road is going inevitably, or eventually it's going down to Buffelshoek Dam. Now, especially early mornings, it's a great idea to always check any intersections like this. A lot of animals that are walking around at night, again, leopard, lion, hyena and so forth, they use the road networks. It makes easier walking for them. It's not sticks and stones and twigs and thorns to worry about. Also makes it quieter. If you're walking through the grass, even if you're a leopard, if you're just walking along, there is still a rustle that comes from it. On this road, a leopard would walk for all practical purposes without sound. So always check the roads, always check the different junctions, because that's where animals would come onto or leave the road that you're driving on. So always a good place to check for sort of signposts or sort of the main bulletins of the morning. I just noticed there, which is not, I guess, that typical for this time of year, being in autumn already. But you know what? It is important that when you're on game drive, you look for big things, and we might see some very shortly. But also that we look for the small things and even stop and smell them if necessary. Brian, there's just a little something I thought for all the ladies on the game drive this morning. Hope you can enjoy it with us. It's a lovely morning in the bush, and from the little flowers over to some big animals with HD. I'll see you guys back in a bit.
We just came around this corner, and yep, you never know what's around the next corner. This beautiful breeding herd of elephants, and I've just surveyed the lay of the land. There quite a few animals dispersed through this thick vegetation, so we always have to be on our toes just to make sure that we don't impinge on their sort of family structure. That little calf there was just suckling off its mum, and I think it's about to do it again. Let's just see if we can go back. We might be lucky enough to see this, folks. The mum's quite keen on the vegetation she's feeding on, and the baby was just suckling there, and you can see those two. It's a bit hard to see from here, but her milk is quite full, and it's really interesting. They'll suckle for quite a long time, and sometimes, you know, they even cross-suckle, which means that related females will allow another relative's calf to suckle from them. And sometimes, excuse me, to the point where if it's a big herd and there's lots and lots of babies and related females, they may even lactate indefinitely. So they've constantly got milk. It just depends on the size of the herd and related females. Just to give you a little bit of a sensory update, the silence is absolutely magic here. The smell of the grass this morning is really sweet. Temperature 17 degrees centigrade, 63 Fahrenheit. And a really beautiful, beautiful location we're in right now. So we've got elephants all around down behind us here. What I would like to try and do is show you this female behind us, but the key factor in this is if I roll back and look at that female, and then this female with calf blocks our outward run. Therefore, we don't have a way forward, and we'd have to reverse out of a situation if anything did get uneasy for them. So it's always good to have a forward run. Make sure you can get out of the situation. The other day when we had those calves come up to the front of the car, that was something that was just unavoidable. But we always like to have a little way forward and just respect the animal's space. And I really thought this calf was going to come this way. Maybe we can just move up a little bit because the calf just strayed from its mum a little bit. They won't move too far. Probably only about 20 yards, 20 metres away. There's a nice bit of light through there, Andrew. I'm not sure if you can see just through there. You tell me where you need me to go, mate. A little bit forward, or is that good for you? Yeah, nice little bit of light on that youngster. So the mother will wean them at about 4 to 5 years of age, and they'll still stick around with their mums, by their mum's side, for quite a long time. Probably another 5 years they'll be by their mother's side. When I say by their side, sticking with them close, and she may have another calf at foot in 9 years' time. I think one of the most beautiful things is there's been recordings of that bond between mother and daughter, you know, going up to sort of 40 to 50 years. And that's pretty incredible. So another reason why we probably are so fascinated and connected with elephants. So many similar traits between humans and elephants. And he's a beauty. He's just off foraging a little bit by himself there, getting to know what that beautiful trunk is for. Starting to understand that incredible appendage that he has is a tool for so many different things in his future. Communicating, feeding, drinking, investigating, and fighting at some points as well. Silence is deafening. It's so beautiful. We've just got the sounds of these animals just feeding, and that's one of those things that you stumble upon elephants when you're out on a walk or something. You could hardly tell they were there other than the odd crack or crunch. It's quite incredible, an animal that size. Some of the things that we take for granted in our daily lives, and we might take them for granted. I don't mean that in a bad way, but maybe we're constantly bombarded with particular senses in our normal environment. So when you do come into a place like this, it is a sensory overload, and I really like to stop and just take some of that in sometimes. Because it's not all just about using our strongest sense, our sense of sight. It's about just sort of relaxing into the moment, I suppose. And that smell of that grass is one of those things that really, really stands out to me in Africa. beautiful, beautiful scent of sweet smelling grass, particularly at this time of the morning when you have got this moisture, still dew on the grass and on the leaves of the trees, and as that evaporates, as the sun comes up, it starts to die off, but then it raises its head again in the early evening. By the time the sun has gone down and the moisture starts to thicken in the air again, you get that beautiful sweet smell again. As you sit here and you stay very, very still, you start to also pick up other things, which are a lot more elephants around us than I actually first thought. So those senses really do get an overwhelming wake-up call, I suppose you could say. And then you get the odd scent of elephant as well, which I tried to explain the other day. It's a bit of a roundabout way of explaining it, but it is a sort of cross between horses and cattle, and then grab a bunch of herbs from your supermarket and rub that all together, and you've got the beautiful smell of elephants. Now, if you're thinking about what senses we use all the time and compared to what elephants use, they use their sight and their sense of smell and their sense of sound and their sense of touch, all pretty much equally, but their sense of sight is much less acute than the other senses, their sense of hearing and smell. So I'd probably say hearing and smell firstly, and then the sense of touch. And there's something very enjoyable about hearing the way they eat, like they crunch up those branches and they just go through that buffet of vegetation that they can pick anything that they want. A little bit of grass, a little bit of bark, a little bit of tender shoots off a tree, some seed pods, some roots. I'm going to move up a little bit for you. We've just got a bit of foliage in the way there. I was hoping that we'd see that little baby suckling. Let's try just right there, Andrew. I'm not sure if you can get in. Well, I have a very rare couple of species coming up here right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is talk. Goodness me, I didn't know that we were going to see these today. Hello, sir.
Morning.
How are you, buddy?
Morning.
Right, mate. Hey, Bri.
Guys,
All right, mate.
it's a beautiful morning.
It's a beautiful morning. We just got lovely little breeding herd down here. Took quite a while to establish how many were there, and it's very thick vegetation there, mate. But there's some there. There's a female feeding with her calf. There's another one there, but there's some also just down in the drainage line.
Okay, cool.
We're just
Why
going
don't
to
you just go down there a little bit and see if we find it.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing with the elephants, they're really spread out, so we'll see there's always the elephant herd story with lots of different little things going on in between. So beautiful morning, huh?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
We had, just so that you know as well, the Kuhuma lions, their tracks cross north into Buffelshoek.
Right.
From Buffelshoek Dam.
Okay.
And then leopard tracks as well, female leopard tracks. Guys, if you maybe missed the beginning of the drive, just giving Hayden a bit of tracking update as well for those of you that are catching up as well. And then female leopard tracks, I'm guessing Karula, Buffelshoek Dam boundary.
Okay.
Heading but into Torchwood, so heading further east.
Okay. All right, mate. Well, look, I'm going to carry on, and I'm going. This is a perfect time to do a handover.
Yeah.
Take it away, my friend.
See you guys later.
Okay. I'll catch you up sometime soon.
See you again soon.
Okay, I'm going to go over the other side and have a bit of a squiz. Cheers, guys.
Right, well, just quickly show you. Hayden was just saying there's a mother and calf just to the left-hand side here. We can see the calf a little bit. It is quite thick here on the river bank. This little guy for a few minutes. H was also saying that moved down riverbed there's a few more, so we'll just have a quick look as well. The elephants also seem to be in a nice sort of tranquil mood. Very, very thick stuff here. Getting into the sandy riverbed now, and those elephants just back there, very, very thick. I mean, except for that little calf, there were about 5 or 6 that I could almost see in here, but not enough that you could actually see them, if you know what I mean. So it is a very, very lush area. HD said he saw a couple more this way as well, so we're just going to see if we can maybe get another visual. If not, I think we might continue on. You know, early morning like this is really the best time to find new activity. So if you find some ellies and you can't see much of them, it's not a bad idea to say, listen, we're going to come back a little bit later. We know roughly where they are, but we're going to keep looking as well, because this the first hour or so is the best opportunities to find cats as well. Just to show you, Brian's just spotting them up there, up on the bank. We'll try and show you, but just to give you an idea of the kind of habitat we're dealing with at the moment. It's quite thick, and we'll come back to them a little bit later again. Maybe they've moved. Maybe we find some things before then. Well, it's a little bit fresh this morning. It's warming up nicely now as the sun is coming up. Autumn and spring. So we have relatively warm but mild warm days. Cool mornings. Virginia, good morning. No, start that. Yeah, sorry, Virginia and Kentucky. For a minute there I thought I was getting it wrong. That's maybe where you're from. Sorry, Virginia, not to interrupt your question. I just want to see if we can see that bird up by the termite mound. That just looks beautiful, but it's a bit of a tricky angle. Right, let me try again. And now it's walked away. Birds, you know, if they don't fly away, they walk away. That was a Franklin, and I was hoping sometimes they go and sit on top of things like that to call for their morning sort of announcement. Beautiful male Nyala up front here as well. We can have a look at him just now. There he is. Virginia, you're just asking what's our temperature extremes here. In the low veld, let's start with explaining why it's called the low veld. Oh, that's beautiful. Lovely background as well. The early morning sunlight hitting those trees along the river edge, or the riverbed's edge. Being in the low veld, we're not very high above sea level. And you'll find that higher up you go, or the sort of more extreme habitats as well, deserts for instance, you can get massive temperature fluctuations. Parts of Namibia, there's places where from the nighttime it can be -5 degrees Celsius and go up to 50 or 45 in the daytime. So you can have sort of 40, 50 degrees Celsius fluctuations. Such a beautiful antelope, this. Nyala is truly one of the prettiest, I think, of all the antelope. And this is a big mature male as well. He's in his prime now. Just looking at his coat and his horns, everything just saying that he's healthy and strong. So, you know, here in the Lowveld, it's more sort of, I would say, we don't get those extremely cold mornings. I'm sure you get occasions where it goes close to 0, and I'm talking Celsius, and I'll do the conversions for you in a minute. But oh, look at that lovely light on the eye as well. I thought he was a bit calm. Nyalas are actually quite secretive antelope, but they get used to vehicles and to people very quickly. Often around the camps, around the camp area, you often see them as well. So to give you an idea of temperatures, at the moment it's about 15, 17 degrees Celsius around that, so about 62, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. And the fluctuation in this area, as I said, it very seldom goes towards 0 in the Lowveld. A cold morning here would be 4 or 5 or 6 degrees Celsius, which is about, let's call it about 40, 38, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Guys, just for you, if you wonder what we're talking about in terms of Fahrenheit and Celsius, the conversion is 32 degrees Fahrenheit is 0. So 32 degrees is 0 degrees Celsius. Water freezes around there. And then anything over that, so if you're on, let's say, 10 degrees Celsius, you time that by times 1.8, so that would be 18, and you add that to 0. So 18 plus 32 would be 50, so 50 would be 10 degrees Celsius. Anyway, let's say 5 degrees would be a cold morning, and it can still go up to a relatively warm, maybe 25 or 20 or so in the day. If you take it over the whole year, the hottest it gets down here is sort of mid-30s. It can probably go up to the 40s sometimes, but on average 35, 36 would be very hot for down in the Lowveld. Oh, he's walking right into the sunlight there. That's what's so beautiful about early mornings. Late afternoon is the same. It's because the sun is still low, you get these beautiful contrasts and shapes. You know, you can really see into the bush a bit better in a way than you compared to midday when the sun is above us. So yeah, I'd say at the extremes, coldest winter and warmest summer, we're probably looking at about a 40-degree temperature fluctuation. But in a 24-hour space, you know, I don't think much more than 20, 25 degrees, typically for the Lowveld. Actually, had a bit of strange weather this morning. Yeah, early morning, about 5:15 or something like that. For about 10 minutes, we had strong wind. Almost unusual for this area. You know, Brian, you've got, I forgot what, Brian has got a great sensitivity to weather. I forgot, is it your knee or your ear or what starts aching when it's raining? Or?
My joints get stiff. When a big storm's coming, my joints get stiff.
I remember last November, December, Brian was our weather station. We'd have to leave him outside the whole night. I mean, he didn't always want to. We had to tie him to the tree sometimes, but we'd leave him outside the whole night, and in the morning he'd tell us the weather.
Wasn't so bad.
All right. That's why he made a special friend, you know. Him and his thumb, they became good mates, just gauging the weather. Guys, I'm just kidding around a little bit. It's a beautiful morning. The sun is up. Elephants a bit earlier. We might go back to them once they come out of the thick stuff. And as always, hoping to find some cats, because this is big cat country. Lion, leopard, cheetah if we're lucky. And then of course wild dogs, hyenas, all kinds of things we can find. Little Franklin shouting his opinion of us as we drive past. Hello, Pat. That is from Denver. Now, you guys have got some pretty interesting temperature fluctuations throughout the year. Pat, you're just asking if any of the animals in this area. I just want to have a quick look at Chela Pan, and then we'll turn around and we'll go back down to Twin Dams again. You're just asking if any animals are tagged or collared in this area, and yeah, a few. Sabi Sands, as part of its, almost, I was going to say the way it runs things, don't collar or tag animals specifically, but some of the big buffalo herds and some of the ellies that come through here, because they cover massive areas, might have been collared for research purposes and able to see movements and movement patterns by researchers in Kruger National Park, and they would move through this area. So you would occasionally see a collar on a buffalo in a herd, or on an elephant, normally a matriarch, or some of the big bulls. But it's very seldom you see that. And Sabi Sands, in principle, don't do that. So it's not something you will see maybe ever, or otherwise very seldomly. It's always good to check this area. Chelapan, even though it is dry now, it is still a sort of oh, hyenas, you see? Animals still come past places. Who knows what can happen next? Spotted hyenas, and they're responding to something. They're listening, so we're going to try and stick with them. Alright, you see, that's what I love about it. 1 second there's nothing, you're literally doing a U-turn, and the next thing is hyenas. I'm going to try and stick with them, although they're going into tricky terrain, but they are going towards the sort of general area that we'd last seen Q in. They just got into the bush, so sticking with them might be very difficult, but we're going to try, because they might take us to another discovery. Spotted hyena, sorry, we just always say hyena around here, but it's a spotted hyena, which is by far the sort of predominant hyena we'll see here. You see brown hyena here once every sort of 10 years. Oh, I don't know if you're going to even find them in time. I saw one going into this thick stuff on the left, heading down towards the riverbed, and I know there used to be a little sneaky way you could get down into the river from here. Let's try. See, there's still a bit of tracks here. The benefit of having 4 legs is you can just cross country it through anything. I think I'll be able to get down there. Yep. There they go. There they go. Well spotted. Let's show you quickly. If we can, it's very, very quick. Well spotted there, Brian. Just there's the movement. Okay, but they are moving. I think we're not going to follow straight through with them. We're going to get to the road and try and circle around and try and just spot them again, so we can keep up. Oi. Oh, great little vehicles, huh? The best vehicle in the world for what we're doing right now. Just again, a big thank you to all the guys from WildEarth for making an amazing vehicle for us. Right. Come on, hyenas. Show us the leopard. Okay, they would have come up about there. I'm hoping they kept this direction, because there's 2 roads. If they turned up the road, that would be one thing, but they didn't walk on the road, but they were looking like they're sort of going pretty cross country there. Let's go with what feels right. And now all we need is a little bit of luck and a lot of hyena. If they haven't turned, if they kept the general direction, hoping that we can find them somewhere here again. There's some hippo tracks on the road. Let's see what other tracks there are. Some Land Rover tracks from yesterday. Buffalo. No leopard, no hyena tracks. habitats around us here. Lots of guarri bush and buffalo thorn and acacia. This is very exciting in itself. Just bumped into those hyenas. A little bit of fun driving to keep up with them. They've gone into this thick stuff. Now there's two roads here, basically giving an idea of this specific little sort of micro-environment we're in. There's two drainage lines, two little riverbeds that come together almost like a V. They join into the one that we drove into earlier. So the two of those are joining. The hyenas were coming from this way. They crossed the first one. Now on the inside of these two drainage lines, there's two roads, so like a Y-shaped road. Now we've taken this one around. The hyenas were heading in this way. I'm hoping they're going to pop out here somewhere on that side. But they could have also turned and used that road, or they could be cutting through the bush to join up to this road again. So you have to balance now. You know, we can only be on one of those two roads at the same time. So you take a general direction that they were heading in. My gut feeling is that they're going to pop out on this road rather than take that one the whole way. Depending on a lot of things as well. I mean, did they hear something? They weren't running, so I don't think they're responding to. Yeah, I don't think they're responding to audio cue there. Now, they didn't hear, you know, like that, for instance, which would be a leopard killing something. Now, that they'd run to as fast as they could because they want to get there. To me, it felt like they were smelling something. And if you feel very carefully, the breeze, it's hardly a breeze. I mean, it's more a drift of air, but it's coming this direction. So if I'm holding my hand like that, let me just feel there. I can feel it on the back of my hand now. So this would suggest that they smelled something from this area. So it would suggest that they'll come out on this side rather than go north on the other track. So that's sort of how you build things together to give you an idea. Let's just say to increase your luck, because in the end there is still a certain aspect of luck to all of it. But as Gary Player famously said when he won the Masters, I think the third or fourth time in a row, and the guy that came second said, "Oh, Gary, you got lucky today, well done." And Gary said, "Yes, I agree. I have found that the more I practice, the luckier I get." Tracking is a bit like that. Listening as well. Listening is always a good thing to do. Maybe you hear a movement through the bush or a sound of something that might help you figure out what you're trying to figure out. Check this road again, we just drove on it. Now if we could find hyena tracks, I know they weren't any earlier, then we can know if they've crossed. Interesting, or I'd be interested to know what you guys think is going on here. And yeah, I think that is a possibility. I mean, they weren't running for it. I mean, if there was something, you know, fresh, as I said, if there was the sound of a kill or a, you know, overpowering smell of a big buffalo kill from the lions, then they'd really be responding fast. But they were moving as if they were following something rather than honing in on it, if that makes sense. But certainly agree with you, Anne-Marie, that I think that looking for or responding to some kind of scent, which most likely would be a kill, is what they were doing. Let's get a couple of thoughts from you guys. Who might have killed here? If they are responding to a kill, we are now in the Vulture's Nest, Nyala Road Junction area. So this is a more specific question for you guys that know the area well. Who do you think might be in this area? And for those of you maybe on your first drive or that haven't done many drive with us, you don't have to guess what exact animal we're looking for, but you could guess what species. In other words, what could have made a kill to attract the hyena's attention. We're going to keep following up. I've got one track back. It looks like they crossed a bit, but walked onto the road, walked on the road a bit, and then crossed again. So we're going to keep following, see if we can get more information, hopefully see where they're going to as well. In the meantime, enjoy the drive with HT. He's also looking around. Maybe he gets another surprise as well. See you shortly.
So we just got the last couple past us, that last little baby just moving off there is the last one of the herd, and there was a lot of them in that herd. We just drove off from Peter, and as we came up the road a little bit further, there was still loads and loads of elephant out here. They all gently move through, and that's the tail end of it. Beautiful thing to watch first thing in the morning, them feeding, them just browsing through the vegetation, taking whatever they wish. Incredible experience to be around elephant, folks. As you know, I love elephant. We all love elephant. You always see something different. You always learn something new, and it's just a great time of the morning. Very relaxed, very beautiful sort of sensory overload for everyone. Nice. What a great start to the day. Katrina, great to have you with us. Katrina's tweeted us to find out whether elephants chew on bones like some other animals, like giraffe, and I've also seen camels do it, and I've seen elephants do it. I've seen elephants hold a rib bone and put it in their mouth and get calcium from that bone. So the answer to that is yes. I've seen it happen firsthand. In Amboseli National Park was the first time I ever saw a Katrina in Kenya. Quite an incredible thing to see with a big leg bone. I think it was a femur of it wasn't a giraffe, I think it was a femur of a buffalo or something, but it did have it and it was twisting it around with its trunk. The advantage that an elephant has, it has its trunk as an appendage that it can use to push around. Is that more elephant there, mate? No, it's not, sorry. I see what that is. That's the Elephantus termite moundus through there. Ah, yes, one of those old things. Very rare species. You can't see it from here. It's just escaped in the foliage. Elephantus termite moundus. My mistake. Sometimes you drive through the bush and out of the corner of your eye you see something that's got the same coloration as an elephant, or a lion for that matter, and you think it's something that it's not. Triastumpus is the other one. Yeah. Trying to figure out what's up ahead here. Okay. I've got 2 hyena on the road up here, which is always a good sign because we might just stick with them and trail them for a little bit. Those 2 hyena might be trailing lion or leopard, who knows. But I just saw them, and this wasn't Triastumpus or termite moundus. This is hyena, spotted hyena. They're just up on the road ahead here. So I know that Pete was on the trail or on the tracks of some hyena. I'm not sure if these are the same 2. You might be able to tell me actually, folks, because I didn't see that. But if you think these are the same hyena, I'm just going to come up gently because sometimes hyena can be incredibly relaxed and other times they can just shoot off into the bush. So I just want to go slowly. It looks like an adult and a youngster or a juvenile, but I'm not going to get a visual on these because if they are a bit skittish, they'll just head off into the bush. But they can cover some ground. Try and get some angle for you here, Andrew, to see if we can see them. Yeah, they just went down. Just went down there. One of those things, folks, they just disappear into the vegetation. So just as we sat up there, I could see these animals. I thought it was a leopard at first, off in the distance, walking up the road. I saw 2 of them. Well, it could have been a leopard and cub, but it was way off in the distance, and it was a hyena and an adult and a juvenile. And they've scooted back into the vegetation here. And once they do that, it's very, very difficult to follow them, particularly through this vegetation here. Tell you what, I'm going to go straight up and along cheetah cut line. Let's see what else is along here. Just going to try and roll back here. Want to see where those tracks went into for the hyena. Just have a look out that side for me, please, Andrew. Just while I reverse and see if you can see any hyena tracks just going into there. So what we're doing, folks, I'm sorry, I'm reversing, so I don't have any wing mirrors on this vehicle, so it's a matter of watching where we go. And Andrew's just looking out the side of the vehicle for me to see where those hyena went in. I think they were the hyena that Peter was looking for. Somewhere around here. We'll just break a small branch off a tree here, just a small one. I'll just leave it on the road. I'm just going to hop out for a second, folks.
Just basically want to just leave Pete a little branch. If he does want to come back and he wants to try and find those or follow up on those, I'll just leave this just a little memento to say that's where they were. Right, it is getting a bit warm, so one layer comes off. Ah, look up here. He's just come back out. Incredible. Just come back out. Just as I got out of the vehicle. Okay, let's go and have a little follow-up on these boys. Or girls. Just as I got out of the vehicle to leave Pete a little memento, there they are again. So that's nice. Beautiful light on them as well. So they can do massive journeys through the night looking for food. And don't think that hyenas are just scavengers, folks. I'm sure many of you know this. They're exceptional hunters as well. Very accomplished hunters. So there's one. I'm not sure where the other one's gone. They don't necessarily have to be in a group. They do spend a fair bit of solitary time just walking around, looking for opportunities. We're just going to keep our distance for a second just to make sure this individual knows that we're not a threat, because otherwise it'll just run off into the vegetation. And the whole idea is to observe the animals as opposed to changing their behaviour. This is one of those things that I was mentioning before. I'll just back off a little bit here for a second whilst you've got a long shot there. So many of these animals use the roads as pathways, and one of the reasons for that is many of the pathways were old animal tracks or game trails. Animals would find the most efficient way to get from A to B. This one we're on at the moment I don't think is, because it's just too straight and basically it's a lovely shot, mate, isn't it? Look at that up there with that little bit of mist and haze left there. The hyena going off into the distance. Well, we'll follow him up. I just want to let that individual have a little bit of space. You can hear those birds sounding off there. It's just gone off to have a little look in there. A lot of birds sounding off here, giving alarm calls for a predator passing. Got a fantastic sense of smell, hyena. And also squirrels sounding off. There's a little squirrel just up there. These are squirrels. There's a couple of birds up further. Look at this little squirrel here, just at the top of this. So there's birds and squirrels going off all around at the moment, just from a little hyena. And that's a great sign, a great signal to us. The combination of the birds, the squirrels, to tell us that there's a predator around. They're sounding off for their own species, not to tell us. But it's a really great example here.
Another great shot, just along that branch, Andrew. Yeah, beautiful, really great display. Look at that tail, there's an alarm call posture there. Tail flicking up in the air. I've still got my eyeball on the hyena, folks, so very interesting. So the combination of birds and squirrels give us a little bit of a hint, but many other animals pick up on that as well. So there'd be over a long period of time, antelope would know that that is an alarm call as well. So they would pick up prick their ears up as well. And it's all about that whole connection with the script of the bush. So he's just gone off there, excuse me, looking over his shoulder there at us to think, hey, you're not following me anymore. He's just walked onto another reserve, so this is our boundary, and we'll let that individual carry on. But how wonderful it was, just walking up in that beautiful light there. That's a nice shot, Andrew.
Thanks.
Really nice. Something about that 3/4 backlight on the animal, and he's definitely picked up something. But always good to remember that there's a chance that they could be on the trail of a leopard, or we always follow those things up. Fantastic. Off he goes into the distance, and they will just walk and walk and walk. They cover an amazing amount of ground, looking for opportunities, scavenging, hunting, and stealing other prey. Other kills from animals, as we've seen many times with leopards. It's like the end of a film, isn't it? Walking off into the sunset like that. Nice. Just a really sandy part of the road. And lots of tracks around here. So Andrew's got a great shot of those tracks there for you. You can see, if you stay on those, Andrew, that's great. I just want to talk through something. Sand is a very difficult thing to get definition from. So I'm going to show you something in a minute. But that track that we're looking at is that fresh track of the hyena. And I'm going to show you in a minute. I'll just So just following that animal up there, this is the spotted hyena track right here, which we've seen. I've showed you this before, but I just want to show you how difficult it is to see those toe or those nail marks or claw marks in the sand. So it is very, very tricky to track. You have to learn how to see the impression. There's a sandy impression, there's a mud impression, and different types of impressions from the track. So interpreting what it is just is a matter of practice. And in the sand it's always a little bit more difficult, because as the animal goes down into the soft sand and pulls its foot, the pads of its foot back up, the sand falls back into that depression, and it's not a true representation of what the track would look like in really, really wet ground or mud. But I just wanted to show you that, because all these things add up to be bits of information that we work with to find out how fresh. Now, Steph would be able to elaborate on that more for you, and he will with the walks. But it will be now a matter of looking at that track and seeing if there's a bit of a wind blowing at the moment. So that would say that if there was a wind blowing like it is now, there's a potential that a little grass seed or a piece of grass could blow into that. And if there's no grass seed or no sort of impurities in that track, you'll know that it's fresher than maybe one compared to next to it that's got grass seeds in it from the wind. So you've just got all these tiny little intricacies that Steph would probably go into much, much greater with you when we go for a walk. And it's all information that goes into our whole big picture of the bush. It's fantastic. It's like well, you know what? There's a very, very famous man by the name of Louis Liebenberg, an absolutely master tracker. The sort of, he's like I don't know, he's just he's a legend, absolute legend. He's written a fantastic book called The Art of Tracking. If you do ever get a chance to get your hands on it, it's a little book it's a little paperback, very, very intense read. You probably only do a chapter at a time, but he basically states that, tracking was the first science. It was the first time that humans actually went out with a hypothesis, an aim, a method, and a conclusion, which is basically going out with an idea. Can or can we not have a successful hunt? The aim, how we're going to do it, the method, the aim of it, the method of how we're going to actually achieve that, and the conclusion, whether we got it or not, I suppose. So it really is the art of tracking and the science of it, and it's incredibly complex, folks, but very, very interesting, particularly when you're with someone like Louis Liebenberg, if ever you had the opportunity to. And Steph is amazing as well. So we're going to learn so much from Steph, and every day I walk out with him, just even to the car park, I'll find something that he's taught me about something. It's great stuff. Sharing knowledge. So I've got a question from Gilly in Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Hi Gilly, and welcome aboard. Great to have you with us. Gilly's asking if it's true that hyena have smaller back feet than they do front feet. It's actually true, Gilly, but it's very, very hard to tell in a soft sandy track like that. And the reason for that is that the bulk of the weight, and it happens in some dog breeds as well, domestic dog breeds, you'll see that their front paws are slightly more probably robust or wide to carry the shoulders and the head, whereas the back are just a little bit more elongated, and that does happen with many different species. It happens with elephants as a classic example there as well. But to answer your question, do the hyena have slightly different shape? They do, and you can can see that, and if we do come across that in tracks that I can demonstrate that for you, I'll definitely show you. So ever so slightly gilly, slightly smaller on the back than the front, but fantastic question, and thank you very much for being here with us. So another really good question. These questions are coming through. Brilliant stuff, everyone. All pertinent to what we're just talking about. Do hyena have retractable claws? No, they don't. None of the canids, none of the dogs have retractable claws. It's just cats that have sheathed claws or fully retractable claws, except for the cheetah. And that's why it is quite easy to get the cheetah print, and even more like a wild dog print actually than a cheetah print confused. They have very, very similar shaped feet. Let me just show you that quickly, because that's quite an important one. I did bring this out the other day, but it's quite an important one to have a look at. And I'll just bring this up to you folks and show you. Very, very easy to confuse. Just stand by for me. So that is a difference between a cheetah and a painted dog. The hyena track is much, much bigger and more bold than these tracks. But you can see how similar that is, but the painted dog has definitely got a much sort of greater U shape or depression in the back pad, whereas the cheetah's nearly goes flat across. But they've both got claws. The dogs always have non-retractable claws, and the cheetahs are semi-retractable claws. So the cheetahs don't come out all the way. They use those, and most people probably know this, but I always like to throw these little things in, because if we've got people that have just started on the safari journey with us, it's really good to know these sorts of things. The cheetah's claws are non-retractable because they use those like a footballer's studs, basically. They use those for grip at high speed turns. They can still get great traction, and that's why that looks like they do. So fantastic stuff, guys. Great. Thanks you for your great question there. Why I bring that tablet out, folks, and show you those comparisons is because you don't always get a chance to see a perfect print. It's very rare that a print is a flat print in wet sand or wet mud, and you get that abilities. They test the trackers out on just partially exposed tracks. Very, very tricky stuff. We're just going to take a left-hander and go back into Juma here. I just wanted to do this cut line to see if there was anything along here. Trying to get a look at some of the smaller roads that I haven't been down for a while on my little app here. I might just do a U-turn and just go down one of those roads back in there. see what we can see. There's lots of these little roads that go off back down into Juma here on this side that I love going down because they're less travelled, they're a little bit off the well-trodden path. Let's take our next right back in. We'll take our way to Buffelshoek Dam. Always great to have a look at. Getting over a little bit of a flu, folks, so I do apologise for coughing and spluttering a bit, but just getting over it now, feeling much better than I was the other day. So we're going along Cheetah Cut Line at the moment where we just came. We're just going to cut back in here. Was that little termite mound back there that we saw Quarantine sitting on the other day. I just wanted to have a little quick look there. I'm going to cut back in here. I wanted to see if there's any line tracks coming out of here from that Nkahuma pride, but Pete said they've sort of gone over to Buffelshoek, so we'll have a look there. We've got a question from Virginia in Kentucky, and Virginia, just let me get around this corner. And Virginia wants to know what's the sort of biggest sense that hyenas use to communicate. Well, Virginia, it's going to be a combination, and I'd probably say they're equally as important as each other. It's going to be sight, sound, and sense of smell, and touch as well. I mean, it's one of those things. They're such communicative animals. They've got a very, very complex social system. The alpha female is top individual in that clan. I like that name too. I like that word as well. A hyena clan. That's what it's called. And they use all those in a combination together. And there's a very, very ritualized greeting period. And the males get to a point where they're actually embarrassingly sort of. They beg to the point to the female where they start to do these incredible behaviours because they would rather avoid conflict than risk injury, and it's very, very interesting to watch. So we're just going to head down here. I've cut down onto this road. The line were over here earlier yesterday. We left them in that block in there last night. So what we might do is just cross over to Pete whilst we're making our way down to Buffelshoek Dam. I know Pete's been here, but that's the great thing. If you just swap between vehicles, we cover so much ground, and we can see what we can find. So let's go over to Pete, and we'll see you just now.
Well, a little exciting bit this morning with hyenas. Unfortunately, we haven't found what they were looking for yet, but who knows, maybe later today. But great following them, and great just getting that sort of little story, if you want, this morning. We're just coming up to Gari Water, and we spotted something in the distance, so I'm going to try and get in on this side. Let's see if we can see. Oh, beautiful, guys. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Truly one of the most stunning birds that we see out here. Massive birds as well. probably 1 meter 40 or something like that, head to toe. In other words, they would be almost shoulder height for a sort of medium-sized human. Oh, look at that. Big wings, beautiful birds when they're flying. We saw one this morning flying when we were driving around. Always looks a little bit prehistoric when you see massive birds like this in flight. This, of course, is a stork, more specifically called a saddle-billed stork. And again, to be more specific again, this is a male and a female. Now have a close look. This is a bit like, spot the difference. I know the one bird is hiding behind the other one at the moment, but I don't want to move because they've actually stayed. They didn't fly away, so we've got a great view. So we'll just wait a bit. As soon as they move slightly, that we can see them more separate from each other. Have a close look and see if you can see any differences between the two of them. In fact, you might even see it already. Keep a close eye on it. Perhaps you notice something. Both birds have got the beautiful coloration on the bodies, what you call aposematic coloration, sort of very vivid black and white markings, very stark markings. Bit of red on the legs, obviously the beak where the name derives from, saddle-bill stork. But you can actually see the difference between male and female quite easily. I'm sure maybe one or two of you have chatted about it on the Twitter feeds or the chat. Which reminds me, if you haven't been on many drives with us before, you're welcome to ask questions, or if you've maybe seen the difference and you know which one is the male and which one is the female and you want to let us know, you can use the hashtag #SafariLive for a tweet or an email as well, questions@WildEarth, but the tweet is sort of where the conversations is happening. Grooming is a very important part of daily routine for any animal. Us as well, humans, it's important to keep ourselves clean, important for health, other different reasons as well. And animals, especially birds, spend a lot of time grooming and preening the feathers, making sure everything exactly where it should be. It's a bit like your sort of pre-flight checks before you fly from Europe to Africa or America to Africa or something. You want to make sure that everything that needs to move and open and close when you're flying is working. You don't want to be halfway across the ocean and then realize, oh, I forgot to check that thing. And the same with birds. They want to make sure their feathers are in tip-top condition, neat and healthy, because that's important for the flight. They even oil or they even groom the feathers as well. And oil is maybe the easiest way to explain it. They've got what's called a preening gland. Most birds, you'll see it when they're busy grooming themselves. Every now and again, just putting their beak sort of on the back between the shoulder blades, or between the wing blades, so to speak. And they get a little bit of like an oily substance from there that they use. I think you might have noticed what I'm mentioning by now. The bird on the left, which would be the female, she's got the yellow around the eye. I think we're close enough to see that. We will try and get closer, but they might fly. I think we've just had some good feedback regarding the same point as well. For those of you that spotted it, thank you for letting us know. It's fork-tailed drongo, Montengo in Shangaan, one of my favorite birds out here. Great characters. I mean, they take on everything from eagles to snakes to mongoose and so on. And just telling the stork there that they're in the way, telling them, get out of the way, get away from my place. Guys, thank you for giving us feedback there. Renee, Simon, and Rosie, you guys spotted the eye difference, or the difference in the eyes. Just get a bit closer again. They're normally a little bit shy birds, so you can't get too close to them. And they're obviously catching all kinds of things, storks. And these guys are around water areas often, so they will be catching little fish and frogs and things like that. But they'll also catch insects. I mean, anything really that makes for a good meal. And obviously, just judging by those legs, they can walk quite deep into the water without having to worry too much about if they need to swim or not. So they hunt in everything from the edge of the water to about sort of 2 feet, 2.5 feet deep water. Lovely setting. Gari Woodall from a different view. I think actually we might as well just continue around the edge here. As we heard from the waterhole camera, lots of elephant activity last night. You can see just looking at the texture around the edge here, lots of sort of flattened sand, ellies and all kinds of other animals that come and drink. Let's have a quick look at this heron as well, just while we've got such beautiful light on him. Oh, he's going to fly away a little bit. Storks still walking around. I'm going to try and go around them. In fact, maybe we should we'll go up the side here, we'll go up the right hand edge. Also notice there, Georgianne, if I'm getting the name right, that the male has a bit of a wattle under his beak. Well spotted. We're going to leave the storks to stalk around some more. And I want to go check the little waterhole on the other side as well. There's another small waterhole onto the other camp, and quite often elephants like to drink there because it's a water that gets pumped water as well, so it's nice clean water. We'll have a look there, and then I think we'll be heading down towards Treehouse Dam. We'll look around a bit, see if we don't find any signs from Kunuma, the young male leopard that's been hanging around that area. Let's see what we can find this morning, or what else we can find this morning. There's no leopard tracks here. Hyenas that walked here last night, one hyena at least. Just left Gari Waterhole, we're now going to go around. Just see if there's some activity maybe at the little waterhole drinking hole in front of Gallagher Camp, which is the other camp. We've got two lodges here in Juma. The Boyatella Lodge, which is sitting on the bigger waterhole of Gari, or Gari Waterhole, or Boyatella Waterhole, or Juma Dam. There's a sort of few different names we use for it. Juma Dam. And there's a pan in front of the other camp which is called Gallagher, which is named after a beautiful little animal called a bush baby. Bush babies look a little bit like Ewoks. Maybe you know what an Ewok looks like. An Ewok, I was going to say it looks like a gremlin, except not at all.
Small furry bear.
Small furry bear. Hey, I'm actually going to stop for this one. Guys, we, as you all know, what WildEarth has always done and always will do is giving you a perfectly realistic, live, immersive experience into the bush. We're sharing this. I'm not going on game drive with a camera. You're not going on game drive with some strange random person talking to you. That's the great thing about this, is we really get to share experiences, we really get to share friendships in many cases, and we certainly get to share the mutual moment experience of being in the bush. And that's brilliant. For me, this is personally hugely exciting. I've always been a big fan of it. But one of the things in the bush that we have done, and that we're going to do more of again, and I'm just as excited about it as you, is to get out on foot. Now, when you're driving along and you get a track and you have a quick look and you come back to the car, that's one thing. And it's also interesting, as soon as you step onto the ground, as soon as you touch the earth with your feet, there is a little bit of a heightening of senses again. But to walk around in the bush, to go for 10 minutes, half an hour of walking in the bush, tracking things, trying to find some of these big animals we so enjoy seeing, is not only hugely exciting, but it's also a very special experience. It's a very visceral, a very intimate, a very sensitive experience to the environment. Your adrenaline goes up a little bit, your senses heighten, you hear better, you see better, you smell better, and you also understand better. You get to touch things and look at things that you might not have noticed from a vehicle, just because of not only the physical, but also the mental space you're in. So walking is very, very exciting. And I've always loved it. Many of you that have been on safaris have loved it, I know. And Scott, I know, is a big fan of being on foot as well. He's on camera, and it's a very special way of doing camera. Herman can certainly attest to that. And Stefan, who I only met a week ago when we came out here, is a hugely knowledgeable guy, a hell of a nice guy as well. Sorry, I meant to say a heck of a nice guy. That slipped out. But a really, really nice guy with phenomenal knowledge. Stefan has got knowledge that many, many guides can only dream about. You know, he's forgotten things that people are still learning. But not only that, he's got a great sensitivity to the environment. I've had many talks with him now, and apart from being a very nice guy, you meet people and you know that they've got an understanding as well of the environment beyond just things that you've learned. You know, it's oh yeah, he said, the Americans, Native Americans said that you get a sensitivity to nature if you live close to it. So Stefan is going to show us more of what's going on foot. So I just want to hear that again. I've just got a bit of information there. So maybe I did that a bit long, but it's really a fascinating and great experience to be on foot. And we're going to be joining Stefan very, very shortly. Let's just make sure when the right moment is.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Sunrise Bushwalk with myself, Stefan, and Scott behind the camera. And we've literally run into this area. We were busy following up in the area for some predator sign, and while we were sitting there in the bush, we were listening to kudu's alarm calling and impala giving alarm calls, and Scott and I literally just as fast as we could made it into this area. When we got here though, the impala and the kudu had stopped calling, and so now what we're doing is we're sitting and we're waiting to see if we can hear anything else. So far we've got some squirrel calling on our right hand side, we've got some impala calling on our left hand side, but it doesn't sound frantic enough. So Scott and I decided that we'd show you something that we found over here around the pan, which is quite interesting. While we wait for the bush to tell us what's going on, we thought that we'd show you. It's a little plant that grows on disturbed areas, and as you can see from where we're sitting at the moment, it looks like a big mud puddle, and that's exactly what it is. It's a wallow, and this particular plant likes to grow around wallows. It enjoys areas of disturbed soils, but it's got quite an interesting use. The local people strip the leaves, and they use it for a variety of different things, but the most interesting thing that they use it for is a type of soap. Now, in this wallow, I've got some water that's left over, as you can see, quite muddy and disgusting. And I'm mixing some of this water with this plant. And while I'm doing it, as you can see, it's becoming increasingly more slimy. Have a look at that. That's just all the soap. It's called saponins. and it's coming out of this plant. There's quite a few plants actually that have sap earners, but this is the only one that I know of that grows in this particular area. Now, you can wash your clothes with this. You can also wash your hands. They make for actually quite a lovely hand wash. And it washes off quite easily as well. So once you've finished, you clean your hands. Well, as much as what you can anyway. And then you carry on. Now what I wanted to show you was where it gets another name for itself from. And I dug around on it, and this interesting thorn, as you can see, you've got two horns, and it's called a sheep's thorn or a devil's thorn. And this is exactly made for stepping. The seed itself is actually made to be picked up by animals with cloven hooves. They step on it, it sticks to their hoof, and they walk. As you can see, it's quite aerodynamic, for lack of a better word, and then they scrape it off, and that's how the seed goes from place to place. So quite nice, eh? Now, we have been hearing a lot of alarm calls around. We're going to be following up on these alarm calls. It sounds quite frantic at the moment. I'm glad that we stood by here. I quickly want to wipe off my hands. I'll just go again with your last message.
We're live.
So we've just done a complete circuit of that area up around where the lines were, and exactly what Pete said. The tracks go over into Buffelshoek, which is the property, the reserve next to us here. So they may come back in. We'll keep our ears open during the night, that's for sure. And there's a lot of people that have intelligence that can tell us what's going on. Just going to see what that is on the road up there. Right off in the distance, Andrew, you might see just standing on the road. It might just be Impala, but it's always good to have a look.
Could be maybe a kudu?
It's a kudu, that's exactly what it is. So a couple of kudu crossing over. We might just go down there and have a little look at them. One of my favourite antelope, kudu. So off in the distance, your naked eye as a human being has a tendency to play tricks on you sometimes. You want it to be, you think, oh, is that a lion or is that a leopard or whatever. But a lot of the time it's antelope, and a lot of the time they're as important, as beautiful to go and have a look at. If it wasn't for them.
Alrighty, well, as is to be expected, there are going to be a few little challenges along the way with doing all these things we're doing. There's some nice fresh hyena tracks on the road, guys, but just to get back to that walk, I guarantee you over the next while, as the walk becomes more a part of this experience, you're going to love it. There is just something different about being on foot, just the way your senses and your whole being react to your surroundings. But we will get back to Stefan and Scott out there again. For the moment, we are... Just check. Always, whenever you get onto a new road, it's always good to just give a quick check, you know, are there any fresh tracks? We are slowly heading still in the direction of Treehouse Dam. I'm going to go look around there for, well, for anything really, but still having a hope for Kunuma this morning. It's been 2 days now. I'm going to get withdrawals if I don't see him. My favorite young leopard in this area. And of course, anything else, because anything can happen when you're live in the bush. You never know what's around the next bend. Tracking is a very interesting thing in so many respects. Catherine, you're just asking how would you track an animal on hard sort of clay soils? Let me just try and think which angle to start that question from. Sorry Catherine, I'm just looking as well because there's no leopard tracks, but there's a couple of tracks around just to keep in mind. I just heard of Impala coming up here on the left. We'll have a couple of minutes with them. But tracking, obviously the footprints itself, that's the first key component of tracking, hence it's called tracking. It's the actual tracks. But then, just go a little bit closer to them. Morning guys, that's a beautiful setting. Lovely herd of Impala. So if you are following something, like let's say busy tracking a leopard for this instance, and it is walking along sandy soils and you can follow it and you can get the signs, the physical tracks, maybe where it's scent marked, maybe where it's scratched a little bit in the soil for marking as well. And you get an idea of what the animal is actually up to. In other words, this leopard is busy hunting. From the way it moves, you can see it's using cover. Or this leopard is busy patrolling his boundaries in the case of a dominant male. And you know that again because of the scent marks and things. All those things you use to build an idea of what is the animal up to, what is he doing, where is he going. Also, if you work in an area, and you live there for a while, you get to know certain animals, certain trends and patterns they have, the same as us. You can predict some of it from that. So you use all those things. So if you're following a track and it gets to hard clay soil, you wouldn't necessarily follow the tracks across it, but you would get an idea of, well, this leopard is heading that way, so I'll go check that side again and see where the tracks come out. And at the same time, for someone that's learning to track, you need a nice big track in sand so you can see what animal it is. But the better you get at tracking, you might just see on the clay soil just a little smudge where this clay is slightly different color from the rest, or where a leaf got squashed into the clay and it hasn't popped out again. Just little signs that might give you indications. So there really is, as I said, I think earlier this morning, there's a certain amount of logic to it, the basic building blocks of tracking. Then there is certainly a massive amount of art to it. In other words, once you become someone that spends it as well, you just get people that have an understanding of something. The same as, let's compare it to cooking. Anyone can do the basics of cooking, and then you can perfect it into an art, but then you get the artists that just have that little feeling, just that flair, adding that little bit of a herb or the extra half a slice of tomato, and that makes a difference between a very good dish and a great dish. And the same with tracking. You need a combination of all those things. There's the male impala. We saw him yesterday. He's following the females around. I think we're going to leave them. They're walking away a little bit. Still have that hazy sort of horizon skyline there towards the east. A bit of wind as well. It's feeling a bit more wintry today than it has since we've been here. Just get that sort of wintry wind. It's not cold, but still cool enough to have a jacket on, so also means animals can still be active. Animals that might have in summertime settled down now already. Lions if they were busy hunting, or leopard, or wild dogs that were busy running around. animals that would say, well, it's getting hot now, I'm going to slow down, find a place to rest for the day, they might still be active a little bit later in the day because it is nice and cool. More hyena tracks. We're going to continue on, and animals we haven't seen a lot of, you will be seeing them with Hayden. Enjoy it. I'll see you back here just now.
Well, folks, we just pulled up here, and two of my favourite animals, well, one of them is a zebra, Birchall's zebra. Just happens to be two here, that's what I was meaning. Goodness me, I haven't seen them here for all week. The numbers have definitely changed compared to when we were here in November. And a lot of the reasons for that is that the grasses are changing and they're moving on. But we've got two individuals here, beautiful, beautiful creatures, amazing design. And I often stop at the simple things, folks, just because when you do see a lot of the one animal, impala or zebra or anything else, buffalo for that matter, we have a tendency as human beings to give that cursory glance. And I always use that term, cursory glance, because it's like, oh, another zebra, another impala. But you know what? Sometimes it's just great to stop and just, if they're also grazing comfortably, what a lovely time it is to see. You can see that magnificent pattern. The most standout feature of the zebra, which scientists have got many different theories of why this occurs, but one of the theories is just that when they are in that big herd situation, a lot of animals running with those stripes on them makes it more difficult for predators to figure out. But I don't know. I think it's still a bit camouflage, because you really do they disappear into the woodland very quickly and very easily when you're on foot walking. You can see zebra, well, they see you before you see them normally, but they really do blend in. Even though they might look striking as they are right now, it's very easy to lose them. So they're much more active during the day than they are at the night. Just got an aircraft leaving one of the lodges, folks. That's probably what you can hear in the background. If you've got any questions, please feel free to send through those questions via Twitter. You can tweet us at #SafariLive, or you can send questions through to us on email at questions@WildEarth. Sorry, let's start that again. questions@wildearth.tv. That'll be the way to email us. Be lovely to hear from you if you've got any questions. I often see zebra, the difference between them at day and night, and you really do see it when you drive through somewhere at night. They spend much more time in open sort of pasture land during the night just to make sure that they stay a bit safer. Moving a lot more during the day when they've got their greatest sense available to them. That's their sense of sight combined with hearing during the day, but at night it's mainly just hearing and sense of smell. they often just lie down, and they can just lie down and lie flat on the ground asleep, resting, but they normally have a pair of eyes standing watching like a sentry. Just lovely to sit with them and watch them graze. They're not moving on too fast, which is great. That's why I'm sitting here, folks, and it's just lovely to watch them. We don't often see zebra at this time of the year, so a real treat this morning. Very special creature. Has to be one of the most incredible patterns of all the hoofed animals. Giraffe and zebra pretty up the top there for extraordinary markings. The real characteristic tail swishing there, really annoying flies on their rump. Always keeping alert. When I was working in a zoo, I looked after zebras for a very long time, and they're great creatures, really great. I had the privilege of seeing a foal born, which was quite an experience, and they are pretty much ready to rock and roll, ready to run, not soon after they're born. After about an hour or so, they're on their feet and they're ready to go. I'll roll down for you, Andrew, in a second. I just want to see that we don't startle this one, because I don't want them to run off. Excuse me, please. It's okay, my boy. It's okay, it's okay. Just wanted to move forward a little bit to get you a better picture. But it looks like he's coming back over onto Juma, which is interesting. So we might have a little bit more time. Oh yes, the quintessential moment is about to happen, folks. There it is. I won't say it. I'll let you just think it. Beautiful. So Helen, welcome aboard. Great to have you with us. You've just tweeted us a question about whether either of these individuals have a wound on their left rump, and the answer to that's no. I know that there was an instance recently where Brent saw an individual with a nice big slice down their rump, and that is unfortunately definite, or more than definitely, a line. Where as the line goes to grab that tail end or that back end, those hindquarters with its claws, sometimes the animal will kick out, maybe injure the line, but the line will still make contact, and those razor sharp line claws will leave a nasty wound. I've seen it on many a zebra. The old sort of war horses that we have. I'll just let this individual pass before I start the vehicle, so they get comfortable with each other. We don't want to split them off. They're beautiful creatures. And this plains or Burchell zebra has that shadow stripe, and you'll see that up here, whereas there's other species. There's the Grevy zebra, there's the Hartman's mountain zebra in Namibia. But this one, they don't have a shadow stripe, whereas these guys have this shadow stripe. You'll see that urinating there on the same spot, just a little territorial marking there. So they could be waiting for some females to come through. You'll get that shadow stripe on the animal. And that's the little sort of paler stripe in between the darker ones, which is a great indicator that it's Burchell zebra. I'm just rolling down here, and I'll get you into a nice position, Andrew. I was hoping not to have to start. Lovely shot. Very spectacular creatures. Got a question from Elizabeth in Minnesota. Hi Elizabeth, welcome aboard and great to have you with us. Elizabeth's asking about that sort of twitching that you see, that sort of spasmodic twitching that the animals use. And look, you're asking that it looks a little bit painful. It's far from it, Elizabeth, I assure you. It's a mechanism that they have that they use to get rid of flies on their body. Very muscular animals. And that will be a mechanism that they use just to try and get away those pesky flies. But these are two beautiful, beautiful stallions. Not. I think. I'm sorry. Let me just double check. I think one's a stallion. I'm just checking out to see the other one now. I couldn't quite see that. I'm sorry, one's a stallion. I do apologise. A few war wounds on this boy as well here that we've got in our vision on the left facing us. I don't know, they might be bachelors. I'm just trying to make out the other. The males have got, young males look similar to the females, but when they become proper stallions, you can see when they're right next to each other, they're quite chunky compared to the females. This maybe actually is a female. I do apologise. We just pan over to that other one, Andrew. It's some lovely oxpeckers have just landed on it. I'll just move down a little bit. Those lovely oxpeckers there, doing what they do best, holding onto that hair, and with those modified, really, really sharp little claws, and sort of just mousing their way. Like they creep along like a little mouse along the animal, and they really do get any parasites or pesky blood-sucking parasitic infestations. So it's actually a stallion and a mare. She looks like she's heavy in foal, actually, that one that we just had. But apologies about that, I just couldn't quite see from the angle I was on. So we've seen some beautiful zebra, which is a great one. I haven't seen zebra all week, but for the minute we'll sit with them, watch where they go, and if they move off into the bush, we're just going to carry on and cut back in. We're going to cut over to the guys on the bushwalk, so we'll see you just now. I'm sure they've got something fantastic.
Well, welcome back to the bushwalk with Scott and myself, and what a lovely surprise. We bumped into some buffalo here. Now, Scott and I have been following up on alarm calls of kudu and impala for the entire morning. About 45 minutes ago, we heard alarm calls of kudu in this area, and we made our way into this area to see if we could come and find what was disturbing them. They've gone silent, and just as we were busy combing through the area, we bumped into these buffalo. Now, it's for precisely these moments that I carry a rifle, as you'll notice. We're far away from vehicles and we're far away from a lodge. And this is essentially just a piece of safety equipment, very similar to a safety belt or a car's airbag. And, you know, while we hope we never use it, I, for one, am quite happy to have it. So they're big, these guys, you know. They don't seem to be too worried about us, but like with all dangerous animals, you want to try and maintain a healthy distance from them. They're watching us, we're watching them, but we're definitely not going to be going any closer. In fact, Scott and I are going to be making our way away from these buffalo. Where the source of these kudu calls and alarm calls came from us, we think we heard these kudu calls. So we're going to be walking into the bush very carefully, and we're going to be keeping our eyes on our back trail, making sure that these guys can't get us. All right, let's carry on. So myself and Scott have come into this area. We're trying to make our way away from the buffalo, perpendicular away from them. And this is very, very close to where we heard those kudu giving alarm calls a bit earlier this morning. Now, while we're on foot, it's quite thick in here. We were also on foot, and because we didn't have the disturbance of the car engine, we were able to hear these kudu giving alarm calls. Isn't it wonderful that you can join us on foot while we come and look for the cause? So we're going to be quite careful. I want to check wind direction the whole time. I'm using my trusty Scott sock for that. It's blowing directly into our faces, which is a good thing. Let's snoop around a bit. I'm being quite wary, keeping my eyes scanned. It's important. It's important to scan and to listen. The bush is telling us all the time that things are happening around here. They've told us that there's a predator here via kudus giving a bark. You never can tell what you're going to find. Okay, I've got what looks to be a kill here. As you can see, we've definitely got a dead animal. Yeah, I'm just going to have a look with my binoculars and see. It's a kudu. Can you believe it? Now, the things that kill kudu, lion kill kudu, leopard can kill kudu. I don't see any lions here. I mean, I didn't hear anything. They're not growling at us. But I think what we're going to do, just make sure there aren't any lions lying here in the shade. And then we're going to back out and we're going to call Peter or Hayden. We're going to call one of them here. And he'll take you closer in the vehicle. But myself and Scott, we're just going to make a quick recce here just to make sure that it's an attended carcass. This time of the year, animals do die of disease, and we just want to make sure that it's not an animal that's died of a disease. So we're just making sure that this kudu hasn't died of natural causes, which is why we are walking around it at the moment. This time of year, drought conditions, kudu and impala do definitely like dying from natural causes, dry times, disease, anything like that. I don't want to approach the carcass too closely in case there is a cat here. Doesn't look like there's anything here, although let me have a... I've got growling to my right. Okay, so folks, I've just heard some growling coming from that bush over there. Now that's a clear indication to me that there's a predator around here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be slowly backing out, and we're going to be calling in a vehicle. So this kudu definitely didn't die of natural causes. We've definitely got a predator here, guys. So, wow. So, we've now made our way out. Peter or Hayden, come in. Hey Peter, if you copy me, we've got what looks to be a kudu kill with, I didn't see it, we didn't see it, but we definitely got growl. Probably 200, 250 meters into the bush from Philemon's.
This is very exciting for us. Got the call a bit earlier saying that there might be some exciting news. Stefan and Scott are tracking, and knowing what you guys know now, I'm very excited as well. We are very close to there. We're just waiting to get the final confirmation for them if they did get a visual or not, which again you've seen before us. So I'm Looking forward to getting a look myself now. Stefan should be somewhere in this vicinity. Ah, there we go. Just look down that way, guys. There you can see. Alright. There's Stefan, we've got him. I must admit, I'm very excited to see Stefan and Scott. And also about what we're going to see, what they found for us there. That's really awesome. Really, in the end, getting on foot and tracking things down, there's a great adventure aspect to it. Also one of the best ways to find these animals, so that's amazing. Also great to have the first live experience of this shared experience. Let's try and unwire myself here. Guys, just in case I need to talk to you, I'm going to step this.
It's a kill, a female kudu kill, which is just on the other side of this bush.
Okay.
We heard growling coming from that Combritan there.
You've had visual on her, right?
No, the kudu, yeah. We were just walking out to make sure she didn't die of natural causes or anything.
Okay,
growled
cool.
at, so
So you found the carcass in here?
yeah, we didn't see anything, but definitely that bush is angrier than
Is it?
most, so
It's not just the bush, it's,
No,
it's big leopard.
something's there, yeah. Don't know, didn't get
It's not a
visual,
leopard tortoise, perhaps.
No.
That's amazing, huh?
So we're going to head out, leave you to it so we don't disturb it. Good luck. Hope you enjoy.
Awesome.
Let us know what you find.
And you know the answer about just being able to run faster than the slowest person. I mean, I've seen Scott running fast, but he's carrying lots of gear there. Scott, awesome. There's so straight to start this. It's a million, huh?
Cool. Good luck.
Guys, that's so exciting. Sure. Just grab this. Sorry, I'm just trying to plug myself in so I can hear the needed information. Maybe couldn't hear quite everything we were saying there because we are speaking quite softly. Just to say again, if you couldn't follow, Scott and Stefan came in here, heard some calls, alarm calls, found the area for it, and then didn't see the leopard but heard it. And I'm going to try and see just now. You know why I want to keep saying Trevor this morning for Stefan? It reminds me of a guy called Trevor that did that as well. But Stefan's saying that they saw the carcass and it looks like a kudu carcass. They had a look just to make sure it's not maybe a random sort of coincidence. And they didn't see the leopard now, but they could hear, as we were joking, they could hear a bush that seems to be speaking leopard. So we're going to look around here. Oh, you know, that being on foot is just great. I mean, just being part of this. I mean, I'm in the vehicle. But for myself, I can feel my adrenaline going up a little bit. So you can imagine the guys as they're tracking into that, you're doing a fresh track, or you've got to smell something that tells you you're right close to it now. Always amazing. Let's see what we can find, guys. Something that tells you you're right close to it now. Always amazing. Let's see what we can find, guys. Scrubby bush around here. Let's look around carefully. Oh, there's the carcass. There's the first part of the story. Well, of the hunt story. The first part of the story was Stefan and them finding this. exciting on so many levels. I think what happened is, as Stefan and they were coming in, following up on the sort of bits of information they received from, oh, look at that. Yo, amazing how these guys been. Just look there. Incredible, the camouflage, eh? And keep in mind, we had a very strong suspicion whereabouts to look for this leopard. Just to sort of bring you in on the story, if you've maybe just joined us, we'll show you again just now. On the left-hand side, there's quite a large kudu. I'm very impressed. A big kill for this leopard. Let me show you that. And the guys are coming in here to follow up on the sort of the bush information they received, the sounds and the tracks and the things all put together. Obviously coming in on foot, the leopard would have seen them. They're very aware as well. He would have just moved off, as we can see now. He moved off about 30 yards and left this carcass here. But this is amazing. This is a massive, massive prey for any leopard. Even a mature male of 5-6 years would still be... I mean, that's a young but adult female kudu. That's probably, I'm going to estimate it at about 120 kilograms, at least twice, if not more than twice the weight of the leopard. He's had a good meal already. He's gotten into the intestines. He would have eaten some of the good bits, liver maybe, some of the big sort of chunky meat areas around the hindquarters. So he's already had a good meal. Let's go closer to him, see if we can confirm which leopard this is. But that is a very impressive kill for any leopard. Never mind one of the young males. Hey, you beautiful thing. I was hoping to find Pneuma in this area, but this is quarantine. I think. Let's just make sure. Yes. As also for you that know this leopard well, help us with the ID there to confirm it for us. We use the whisker spots, the facial markings. But after a while you get to know them even just on sort of how they look, you know, just the facial shape and so forth. But this looks like quarantine to me. One of the two young males, and just to stress the fact again, I know there's been sort of comments about these young guys catching smaller prey. That's typically what young leopards do. They catch whatever they can really in the beginning while they're still gaining experience. They are independent of their mother now, even though he is still staying in her area. So they still have the protection to an extent of staying in her area, and if the big dominant male came through here, which is Mvula, which is their father, they should have a bit of a break from him. But very, very soon they will be totally independent. They will be pushed off. And just heartening to know that this guy, at 2.5 years old almost, is capable of killing a kudu cow that is at least twice, maybe even approaching 3 times his own weight. So, well done, full belly. Too big to take up into a tree. So the next challenge would be to try and keep this food, because hyenas, lions, other leopard, even wild dogs potentially, all animals that could steal that food from him. But that's very impressive. And how exciting to not only be looking at a leopard, but to have found this through the teamwork, the different guys out here, and more specifically through the skill and experience and steady nerves of the guys that are out on foot, Stefan and Scott. And I know from your side as well, guys, this is very exciting that we're going to be getting you into the bush on foot more often as well. It just gives you a deeper appreciation, deeper understanding of the bush, just by being able to look at the tracks and look at the thorns on the thorn bush, or the leaves on the tree and how it works, or the berries on the bush when it's fruiting. All those little things just give you a deeper understanding of nature and of the environment around you. But ultimately, being on foot is also hugely exciting, because you might track yourself into a leopard on a kill, or a herd of elephant, or a couple of buff just taking it easy in the shade. And that's all the exciting, the adventure, the rush aspect of the walk, combined with a very sensitive ability to learn about all the small things as well. So being on foot truly is a lovely experience, and I'm very excited that this is coming back into the experience for everyone. So on all levels, an exciting morning for us. Let me maneuver a little bit. I was going to say maneuver a little bit. That would be maneuver and move in one word. So let's maneuver a little bit. Quarantine seems happy in the shade there. He's got lots of food just there. Too big for him to move. That's the one problem. That could be too difficult for him to put up in a tree. But it's just, maybe we can get a slightly better look at him while he's having a nap. What a beautiful cat. after last year, teaching them myself, teaching them my wife, we were referring to them as Brad and Orlando. Quarantine reminding us a little bit of Brad Pitt. He's got that classic square jaw, great eyes, whereas Kunyuma is a little bit more sort of prettier. Kunyuma could be in the area as well. In fact, this would be fascinating. I was saying earlier you could have things like a hyena, wild dog, lion potentially arriving here and taking this food from him. But there's actually as good a chance, if not a better chance, that his brother might show up here, and that would be very interesting to see. They are now independent of each other. They don't hang around together anymore, but they obviously know each other well. They grew up together. So it would be very interesting to see if Kunyuma was to show up here. Would they share the kill, considering that it's such a large kill? So who knows? Maybe this morning still. I would definitely not miss the sunset safari, because we have a leopard story happening. Guys, thanks for the confirmations there of this ID. You guys agreeing that it is quarantine. George Ann is commenting there as well that this is the first time that you've actually heard quarantine growl. It's very important that we realize animals, or wild animals, react very differently to people on foot as opposed to us in the vehicles. With the vehicles, they get used to the shape of the vehicle, the presence of the vehicle. They don't associate that necessarily with the traditional primal human being on foot. Keep in mind, for many millions of years and for thousands of years, we've been competing with each other in some way or another. So innately, predators, or all animals, but even predators, are afraid of humans, or wary of them at least. Around here they get used to it. He's not upset. You can see he's totally relaxed. Stefan and them walking into this area wouldn't have had any difference to his behavior other than that he growled and ran away a little bit, but he's not going to be upset about it the rest of the day. And it's also important to know that it's normal for different species to interact. If hyena had walked in here, they might have tried to steal that food. If lions had walked in here, they would have tried to kill this leopard. So people walking in on a sighting like this is just a great experience for all of us, and something that really is not a problem or a threat in any way to this leopard. But it doesn't mean that he's not going to react. Oh, this is awesome. On so many levels. Look at that coat, even just lying in the wide open in front of us. Still amazing how they blend in. If we just look at sort of the wider view, obviously it is getting brighter now. We've got the sun getting harsher, so your contrasts are much harsher. You can see the sunlight outside very bright. But just look at that. Keep in mind, we are at the moment, I'd say about 6 meters, let's call it 20 feet, if that, away from this leopard. And you could so easily walk right past this. If you didn't hear the little growl from the leopard, or smelled the carcass, or heard the squirrels calling, or found the tracks, if you were just walking randomly through the bush, you could just walk past this without even knowing about him. They are truly one of the masters of camouflage leopard. In behavior, in how they do things, in how they move, in how they approach the environment. And obviously that coat, that dappled markings or the rosettes we get on them, and this leopard didn't decide to put that on this morning. Leopards don't change their spots, as you know, but it certainly took a long time to evolve into this perfect camouflaged coat. Oh, look at him. Beautiful. Ah, this is beyond awesome. I've just said now that on so many levels this is very special. Very excited that we're bringing the walk into the experience again for you on all levels, from the small things, the tracks, the flowers, the trees, all those little things you can learn, but also the excitement of it, the fact that you can actually find a leopard or an elephant on foot. And then to share that with the vehicles and bringing it all together, you know, it's getting closer and closer all the time to all the different experiences you can have on a safari. And that's what we're doing. So fantastic also to see this leopard. I know this is a particularly special leopard for many of us. Quarantine in Kuyuma, the boys of Karula, which is a leopard that I have a long history with and have a lot of time for. And then the fact that it's happening right now, that we're sharing it, is something that, no matter how many times I've done it, for me this just is beyond cool. So I have to say a special good morning, and so nice to have you in the vehicle, as I know you are very often, Scuttable. My wife Leishna is on drive as well at the moment. She's got a special place for these leopard and for Karula. She knew them well back then. So nice to have in the vehicle. Very nice. Glad you're enjoying it with us. Oh, look at those eyes. Amazing. Hello, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie is just wondering how close Stefan and Scott were when they found the queue. Now, I'm not exactly sure how close they were, but I do know that they had a good look at that carcass. And I don't think he's moved much further than where he is now. And Stefan also said to me that he heard the bush growl. I love the way Stefan describes things. He's got a great understanding, well above average in terms of how the bush works, and also has a great way of interpreting it and explaining it. And he was saying he heard the bush growl. From us to the kudu, or to the carcass, and just have another look. 30 meters, if that, we can show you quickly. This is the tree that would have been growling. And there's the carcass. Brian's just going to show you around that side. So I'd say about 30 meters, that's about 30 yards, close to the same distance. And that's where they would have been at some stage when they heard the growling bush. And he also, keep in mind, he was just letting them know that, listen, I'm over here, I don't want to confront you unnecessarily. And that works well, so good communication both ways. Oh, look at that face. Just look at that face. Well, sort of linked together there, Rena is just asking, if we're close to where those hyena were earlier. We were following some hyena earlier, and we thought they were maybe, in fact, I even speculated on the fact that it might be Q's kill, because that's where we last saw him 2 days ago. But we're a bit further away from there now, and also in the opposite direction from where the hyenas were heading. So if they were following up on a scent, it was maybe an old kill from this guy, meaning a small kill from a day or two ago, or maybe something else. Who knows what it was? But not this, which is very lucky for him, because, as I said, the biggest challenge here for Q is, now that he's got this big prey, I mean, he's got the equivalent of he could eat this for 5-6 days and not even finish it. But his big challenge will be to hopefully avoid discovery, because that carcass is too big to get up into a tree for him at the moment. So he will just have to hope that vultures don't find it, because if vultures find it, then hyenas could find it. Keeping in mind, let me just think, distance-wise, not very far from here, less than a mile, I would say about not even a kilometer, probably 800-900 meters from here. So let's say a 3/4 of a mile or so away, there's a hyena den. So lots of hyena activity in that area, and I would think that if not this morning still, you never know what could happen, but certainly by this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning, there's going to be interesting interspecies activity around this carcass as well. So this is a story that we will definitely follow. But what a great way to get into it, what a great way to discover this, starting with the guys on foot, right on ground level, right there we can feel and smell and touch, and even feel in your heartbeat itself what's going on around you. Just going to reposition slightly. How's that? That's while this guy is taking a bit of a nap, and you can see breathing not that fast but relatively fast, because the belly is a bit fuller now. We know that Q has had a good eat already, so the belly is fuller, meaning pushes up against the diaphragm, meaning he can't take as deep breaths as he might have otherwise, so that's why he's breathing a bit fast. Having a nice little nap as well, because he's going to feed again later. He wants to make the most of this meal while it's his. I was just thinking again, I've experienced this almost in a nostalgic way a number of times over the last few days, when I've been sitting with leopard, and I just remind myself, not that one ever forgets, but I've just been reminding myself of how absolutely amazing it is to sit like this. We are 6-8 yards away from a beautiful male leopard. He's totally unperturbed by us. We're seeing natural behavior. I have to pinch myself every now and again and just remember again that this is amazing. What we're experiencing right at this moment, potentially on these drives, is just phenomenal. Strange, I mentioned it earlier on the drive as well, but today has a distinctive slight wintry feel to it, more so than we've had up until, well, today. So when we arrived, it was still mostly summer, and it has certainly felt like in the last 24 hours winter has arrived in a very pleasant way. We've got this nice sort of soft warm sun on us, leopard sitting next to us, exciting stuff to look forward to for this afternoon. But for the moment, we are just going to quickly jump over towards HT as well. I know that he's as excited as we are to hear about this. This is one of his favorite, actually this is his favorite leopard. So you're going to go say goodbye with HT, and then we'll see you back here just now to see if anything happens before the end of drive. See you now.
Folks, we just left those zebra because they walked into the vegetation. We went around a little bit further, saw some nice impala and so on, but I wanted to stick with Pete because Pete is with quarantine. How fantastic is that, to finish off this morning's drive with that beautiful, beautiful cat, Q. That is my favourite leopard on in this area. I just want to come back and say hi and say bye. It's been a really nice drive this morning. Elephant to start off, really beautiful just to see that hyena as well going up that track. That was a beautiful shot Andrew did there. I really enjoyed watching that hyena walk off into the distance. And then a little bit of a walk through Buffelshoek Dam. It was really good. I enjoyed it this morning. Lots of lovely colours and senses that we went through. Bit of zebra action going on, which is great because I haven't seen zebras since I've been back, and always great to see. So a really nice morning. So the zebras, when they walk off the road, we don't normally follow plains game or animals like that onto. I might just take this little road down here. It's quite a nice little road, one of my less trodden paths. So we just let them go off into the vegetation. But they're a beautiful creature, and the Birchall's or plain zebra is the one that we were with then, with that shadow stripe, as we said. Many of you know lots of this information, but as I say, I always say the simple stuff up front, because you never know who's just joined us. If it's our first safari for some people, it's great to get all that information back out. Just remind us of some of the simple sort of facts about the animals as well. So we've got a question from Sherry in Colorado. Sherry, great to have you with us, and thank you for joining us. Your question, do male zebras spend their time in solitary situations, or do they hang out in bachelor groups, or what's their sort of behaviour when they're not in mating season? Well, Sherry, the interesting thing is that all of the above. Really, I've seen them solitary. You just see one animal walking through the bush. They are quite territorial in their herds when it is mating season, but you do often see bachelor herds as well, particularly in mating season. So they really do have a bit of quite a complex social structure. Lots and lots of gesturing and body shaped and facial movements, particularly facial movements. Like most people, anyone out there that works with horses will know that you can really tell a horse's temperament from it. It's how it's holding its posture and how it's moving its facial features and ears, etc. So same with zebra. Lots of lip movement, but particularly the males, they will fight ferociously in mating season, but I've seen them in all different situations, Sherry. Solitary, which is obviously a little bit less favourable for survival, in a bachelor group, and in mixed herds outside of breeding season. So thank you, Sherry, for being with us this morning, and a great question. So we're just arriving up in the quarantine area now, and I think I'm just going to give you a final farewell, and just to say thank you very, very much for being with us. I'll just pull onto this road here. Thanks so much for being with us. It's been great to have you this morning. I'm going to hand back over to Peter, but we're going to be out this afternoon for our sunrise drive here on Wild Safari Live. It's been fantastic to be with you. We'll see you just now.
What was that? A little noise that he picked up, maybe. Well, guys, welcome back just for the last part of the drive. Beautiful view here of a mostly semi-sleepy leopard. He's got a full belly. If you've maybe just managed to join us for the last minute or two of the drive, we would have a fantastic morning. Beautiful. Yeah, that's what predators do well when their bellies are full. Stunning morning. little bit cool to start with. At hyena, a couple of ellies, lots of things happening, but I really think the highlight for this morning was, again, as I said earlier, on different levels even, but we've started with the walk again, so that in itself is exciting. It's such a special way to experience the bush. And Stefan and Scott, they managed to track down and find this amazing leopard. Not only that, he's got a kill close by. A very impressive kill at that. The size of it, he's caught a young adult kudu female, so I'm guessing at around, as I said earlier, 120 plus kilograms, maybe even as much as 160. So very close to at least 2 times, or probably closer to 3 times the body weight of this leopard. Oh, actually, maybe even more. I'm trying to guess. He's probably not weighing much more than 45, 50 kilograms at the moment. Yeah, so I'd say probably 3 times his weight. So very impressive hunt. Now, I know it's been talked about in the Twitter feeds as well. Guys, what's going to happen with this kill is open to anyone's guess, but I would certainly think that the hyena clan in this area, keeping in mind we've got a clan of hyenas that live in this area, they've got their den, they've got their offspring, their babies in this area. They have to find lots of food because of that. They have to be aware of other predators in the area because of that. So that's a big dynamic in this area at the moment. So if I had to venture a guess, I would hope for this leopard's sake that nothing discovers this carcass, but it is in the open. There's not much cover around, even as much as bushes goes, never mind a tree. So I would think that during the day it's not impossible that vultures will spot this. This will be the first guys to sort of zone in on this. And if vultures find it, from that might follow that you might find, sorry, I just think I just saw a snake. I don't know, it was quick. Either way, if the vultures find it, that might then lead to other predators finding it. Very good possibility that this guy's brother is in the area, Kunyuma. That would be fascinating if he was to join here. Not impossible. Very possible that the hyena clan in the area might find it. That would be not traumatic or dramatic or catastrophic or anything like that, but it would influence obviously big time what's going on here, because Q might lose his kill then. I heard a lion roaring this morning in this direction. There should be lions somewhere in the area, also a possibility. So many things that can happen during the course of the day, and possibly in the course of the day, but likely late afternoon. That's when things get active. That's when scents and smells travel well. So as you might guess, we will certainly be spending time this afternoon with this beautiful leopard and this whole story, seeing what happens with a kill, seeing what else comes in here. Is it maybe another leopard? Is it maybe another predator? There was a little group of buffalo around earlier as well, so much to look forward to. And of course, having the guys on foot out there, you never know what can happen, what they might find, what we might find in the vehicle. So before I talk my tongue into a twister there, it's been a brilliant morning. As always, guys, let me just sit this way around. My seat here. It's been a brilliant morning, and